The letter is dated the 5th of June 2000, and he signed accepting or acknowledging receipt thereof on the 6th of June 2000, meaning the very next day.
Okay. Chair, it couldn't have been.
Okay.
I was transferred to Johannesburg in July 1997. I was not working in Bloemfontein at that time. So I couldn't have been in Johannesburg and hand Mr. Motsoeneng.
June when?
I was transferred to Johannesburg
In what June?
in July 1997.
July.
I couldn't have been in Bloemfontein on this specific date or working in Bloemfontein on that specific date to hand Mr. Motsoeneng a letter.
Okay.
That letter, as I say, I didn't author it. It might have gone out with my signatures, but it had nothing to do with me.
That's fine. And just so you clear, he is not asserting that you signed it because he has no knowledge. What he asserted, which I put to you, and you've already responded, was that the physical handing over of that letter was done by you.
It wasn't.
To which you have answered in the negative. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'm going to also put it to you something that transpired prior to your arriving at the SABC, but just to complete the loop, and I will hand you a document for you to offer commentary, if any. There is a letter dated the 26th of May, 1995. I will provisionally make hand copies to yourself as well as my colleague.
Before you proceed, Mr. Majabu, let your colleague just have an opportunity to look at it, whether we can go ahead with it.
Well, I would raise an objection. My objection will be that the witness is not the author of the letter.
Yes, yes, but firstly, you're objecting to the handing in of the letter unless there's a proper basis laid for it. As now you're not agreeing to just using the letters, that's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you then, Mr. Majabu. You must now lay the basis why it should be allowed.
I firstly indicated that I am going to put a proposition to him based on a document that he did not author. I accepted that. I didn't want to put a proposition in the air. If my colleague has a problem with me provisionally handing the document,
allowed, provided my colleague is going to call the author of the.
Okay, I allow then the exhibit L provisionally on the basis that it's properly proved in Mr. Majabu.
of that letter, because I won't lie and indicate that I will call a witness that I have no control
No, it's
over.
not on that basis. I will provisionally allow it.
Okay.
I'll decide later whether it's admitted or not.
Okay, that's fine. The simple point I wanted to make here was to say, according to the SABC itself, and as the custodian of the personnel file, I wanted to see, to test with this witness whether or not, as he looked in the file, was this letter one of those that were present or not present? Because we know he told us of certain things that he, when he looked in the file, were not present. May I ask you to have a look at that document and see if it is familiar? And I'm not suggesting for a second that you can vouch for its factual correctness.
Yeah. Chair, the letter does look like it was part of his personal record folder. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And now that you recognize the letter, would I be correct in saying what is recorded in the content thereof is a confirmation of the adjustment of his salary from the 1st of May 1995?
Yeah, correct.
That is what it's in the letter, regardless of who wrote it.
Correct.
And you are recognizing the letter as having been familiar.
Yes.
That's all. Okay.
The letter related to a parity study.
Yes. Which means his salary was upped from some lower amount to a higher number. by those who were involved in HR and processes prior to your arrival.
Correct.
Would that be a fair proposition to
Correct.
put? Thank you. May I then beg leave to hand it to you? May I also ask the witness to confirm and see if he identifies a similar letter on that same basis, not to suggest that he's the author or he can confirm the factual correctness thereof. First, let me ask my colleague to have a look at it and see if he has any strong feelings to it.
Well, I think the same will go to the first letter.
On the same basis then, Exhibit
Yes.
M, provisionally.
May I then ask the witness just to see if he recognizes that as a letter that might have reposed in the personnel file that he inspected.
Yeah. I can't specifically recall this letter.
Would it, the contents thereof, would they be inconsistent with a proposition that at some point those who were in the personnel office confirmed, or they would have had to confirm the expiry of a probationary period, whether an employee has passed the probationary period or not? Just speaking in general terms.
The letter relates to probationary period, that he has completed his probationary period.
Okay. Thank you. And then it will be
M.
Thank you, that we gravitating towards the end. Mr. Tati, you used a very interesting choice of diction when you were protesting against a proposition that I put to you. And it went along the following lines. You said, my letter of March 1996 cannot be without context. You cannot wish away the fact that a misrepresentation had happened previously. Would I be correct in saying your assertion of the misrepresentation is on two bases? The first basis is on the fact that there is a form that you say Mr. Motsoeneng never disavowed, which is the first document that we spoke about. The second basis is that at some point after your third pressing, he then confessed to you that he actually does not have the matric certificate at the time of the third pressing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on that basis, you are asserting that a misrepresentation happened, resulting in him being in the gainful employ of the SABC.
Correct.
Okay. And I take it that you would not be able to disagree with the testimony of the person who was directly involved in his employment in 1995, because you're not privy to those discussions.
Yes, I wasn't.
Thank you. But I have captured the two bases of your asserting a misrepresentation correctly.
Can you just repeat that?
I'm just saying, because you said you can't demonstrate with the evidence of the person who was directly involved in his employment in 1995, the answer was in the affirmative. I then qualified by saying, but the two bases on which you were mounting your assertion of a misrepresentation, I have captured them correctly.
I should just say, Chair, that it also depends. Although I can't argue with the people who employed him, but it also depends what their evidence is.
It's the context.
Yes.
Yes, the context.
It depends what that evidence is.
Yes, no, that's fine. That evidence has not been led, but I was just saying, as far as your direct evidence, those are the two bases that you have mounted. And I went a step further to say, because you were not there, you would not be able to remonstrate with the evidence of those that were directly involved in 1995 prior to your arrival.
Yes, suffice to say that there is one piece of real evidence
Yes.
that was on the table, that has always been on the table, and it's his application form.
Yes.
Where it's written, he's got standard 10.
Yes.
I think one should qualify it.
And I'm sure that is a qualification that the chairman will make, having listened to the totality of the evidence, including the context.
Sure. There is a form that says standard 10.
Yes.
Whatever the evidence of the people who employed him, the form says standard 10.
Yes, Mr. Tati, I would have loved if you were sitting in the chair of Mr. Palani to take that with you in argument. But you are now a witness. I have accepted that there is a document, and you cannot in seriousness assert that that document trumps all other cumulative evidence. That is why I said,
For me, it does, Chair.
okay, that's fine, but unfortunately you're not the chairman, you're not the trier of fact.
I'm giving evidence. For me, that form trumps everything.
So we must stop these proceedings because that form trumps everything.
I've never said that. I'm saying that that form is conclusive. It's real evidence.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Majabu will appreciate what I'm referring to. It's
I do
real
not.
evidence.
And you have said about that very same document, that document is incomplete. You've said that.
Where it is here today, it is incomplete. It was always complete in his form, in his file.
Yes. And what is before the chairman today is that which was shown to us as an exhibit. And he will have to draw inferences as to what to make of the piece-in document. Is that right?
I'm sure you will.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying let's leave that to him. Just testify, tell us what you know. Thank you.
Is that a cross-examination, Mr. Majabu?
I just want to canvass one. As a matter of law, and I don't want to say labor law because you have chided me on that. To your knowledge, was Mr. Motsoeneng's contract of employment ever terminated? To your knowledge, to the best of your recollection?
I think so. I think his contract was terminated at some point.
Just speak up a bit, sorry, Mr. Tan.
I think so, Chair, that his contract was, I'm saying here with a lot of uncertainty. It's really thinking back many, many years. But I think so.
If I put it to you quite emphatically that it was in fact terminated, you would not quibble with that?
No, I wouldn't.
Do you know how is it that he came about to be in the employ of the SABC again?
I have no idea.
Do you know whether, would you have difficulty if I say to you that that contract of employment was terminated, he was fired pursuant to a disciplinary inquiry that had nothing to do with what you've just testified about, and re-employed afresh at a later stage? Would you dispute that?
No, I'm not in a position to.
Yes. Now, I confirm, I can put it to you as a fact that on or about the 1st of April 2013, and this is just a proposition that I'll invite your response on, which may go left or right. He was issued with a certificate from the very same SABC for 5 years unbroken service. So if you calculate backwards, he would have been re-employed around about 2008 for the employer to say you've now been in active service for 5 years. Would you dispute that?
I'm not privy to that information.
Yes, but I'm just putting it to you, as a fact. Now that we know you can't dispute that, would you, as a matter of your own legal understanding, to which I'm not going to bind you, and I'm just testing a proposition. Let's suppose that on your own evidence, he misrepresented with a view to gaining employment. What do you make of the fact that that employment, which was triggered as a result of that misrepresentation, was terminated in 2006? And when he was re-employed in 2008, his employment relationship with the SABC started de novo, afresh.
Chair, I am unable to comment on it because I don't know the basis on which the SABC proceeded to make that decision.
Okay. But at least you can accept that it is quite distinct and separate from a reinstatement. A re-employment presupposes employment afresh.
Correct.
And I am not holding
You
you.
say that.
I'm not. Well, I'm saying it, and if you disagree with me, I'm inviting you to say your interpretation is wrong.
As I said, Chair, I am not privy to the circumstances.
Yes.
I don't know whether new application forms were completed. I don't know what was discussed and why the decision was made.
Yes.
I'm simply not in a position to give an input.
To give your opinion. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and that's why I qualified by saying I'm asking for your own interpretation purely because I took advantage of your legal standing. Not that anything turns on, but I wanted to put it to you that sitting as he is a fresh out of the box employee of the SABC. If you counted from what you testified about 1995, he should have received a certificate of distinction for 20 years of service. But what I was putting to you is that the same SABC re-employed him. He's now been in service now for 6 years. That's all I wanted to put to you. And I know you had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. May I just get a final instruction?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair. I have no further questions. And as a parting shot, as I indicated to my colleague, I'm a decent colleague. I would not veer off into things that put us as colleagues in a bad light.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Mr. Majabu. Any re-examination, Mr. Polani?
Mr. Tet, during the back days when you were at SABC,
You speak up, Mr. Polani, I can hear you.
in 1996, when you were employed at the SABC, what were the requirements for a trainee journalist? Academic requirements.
Mr. Polani,
I don't.
you're now, sorry, Mr. Majabu, you're now busy with new evidence. If you want to do that, you're welcome, but that might have the result that there's another set of cross-examination. You understand? So if you want to proceed, you're welcome. You have leave to do that. So go ahead.
I will just proceed. Chief.
Yes. On the basis that I give you a chance again, Mr. Majabu.
Indeed, my rights are reserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
What were the academic requirements then?
The academic requirements for a journalist in the SABC have always been a diploma, minimum diploma in journalism or a bachelor degree.
In other words, for you to obtain a minimum diploma or a bachelor's degree, you have to have a matric certificate, in your knowledge.
It's inferred.
And the requirements for a specialist producer by then?
Sure. Asking me a difficult question, Dr. Palan.
Let me simplify it. Was a matric a requirement?
Because an executive producer is, in the upper stream of journalism, it I guess goes without saying. If the entry requirements is a diploma at least or a degree, it follows that if you're an executive producer, because it's a higher position than a journalist, it follows.
That is there.
Is that your re-examination, sir?
Yes.
You're actually leading new evidence. There's no re-examination on the past. Okay, thank you, Mr. Majabu. Let me just understand you. I see you've got lots of instructions around you, but that's fine, I don't mind. Tell me, have you got re-examining that was canvassed by Mr. Majabu?
That will be the re-examination.
Okay, Mr. Majago, I will allow you on the new evidence.
I'll be very brief on the so-called re-examination. Mr. Palani put a different question. His question was, what are the requirements of a journalist? To which the witness expressed an opinion, which I cannot fault. It's his opinion. But in 1995, Mr. Motsoeneng was not employed as a journalist. And the form that he testified about was not that of a journalist. It was of a trainee journalist. Just wanted to get that out of the way. And I put it to Mr. Tati, that while I may not quibble with what you have opined, would I be correct in saying that you were not asked what the requirements of a trainee journalist were?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tati, for coming to us and giving us your valued time to come and testify. You are excused, sir.
Thanks.
Chair, Mr. Palani must make sure that our colleague is taken care of in the spirit that we spoke about.
I will address that, Mr.
That was on a lighter note.
I think it's now past lunchtime. Let us then have lunch, and then 2 o'clock we will proceed with whatever you have. All right, let's adjourn now.
I see my colleague is looking askance at the chair. I'm happy with the chair's ruling. I'm ever ready.
Do you have something before we go on lunch? So,
I'm going to bring an application, and it will be had after lunch for a postponement.
postponement of this matter?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm fascinated to hear what it's going to be, because it will be very interesting to hear what you've got to say.
I have a witness that
But
is...
not now. I don't want to hear it now. You don't have lunch now. Thank you, sir.
By the fact of the matter, for formally agreed.